Sahih al-Bukhari 2211. Narrated Aisha. Hind, the mother of Muawiyah, said to Allah's Messenger, Abu Sufyan, her husband, is a miser. Am I allowed to take from his money secretly? The Prophet said to her, you and your sons may take what is sufficient reasonably and fairly. Sahih al-Bukhari 2212. Narrated Hisham bin Urwa from his father, who heard Aisha saying, the holy verse, whoever amongst the guardians is rich, he should take no wages from the property of the orphans, but if he is poor, let him have for himself what is just and reasonable, according to his labors. 4.6 was revealed concerning the guardian of the orphans who looks after them and manages favorably their financial affairs. If the guardian is poor, he could have from it what is just and reasonable, according to his labors. Sahih al-Bukhari 2213. Narrated Jabir. Allah's Messenger gave preemption to the partner in every joint property, but if the boundaries of the property were demarcated or the ways and streets were fixed, then there was no preemption. Sahih al-Bukhari 2214. Narrated Jabir bin Abdullah. Allah's Messenger decided the validity of preemption in every joint undivided property, but if the boundaries were well marked or the ways and streets were fixed, then there was no preemption. Sahih al-Bukhari 2214b. Narrated Musaddad from Abdul Wahid. The same as above but said, in every joint undivided thing. Narrated Hisham from Mamar, the same as above but said, in every property. Sahih al-Bukhari 2215. Narrated Ibn Umar. The Prophet said, while three persons were walking, rain began to fall and they had to enter a cave in a mountain. A big rock rolled over and blocked the mouth of the cave. They said to each other, invoke Allah with the best deeds you have performed, so Allah might remove the rock. One of them said, O Allah, my parents were old and I used to go out for grazing my animals. On my return I would milk the animals and take the milk in a vessel to my parents to drink. After they had drunk from it, I would give it to my children, family and wife. One day I was delayed and on my return I found my parents sleeping, and I disliked to wake them up. The children were crying at my feet because of hunger. That state of affairs continued till it was dawn. O Allah, if you regard that I did it for your sake, then please remove this rock so that we may see the sky. So, the rock was moved a bit. The second said, O Allah, you know that I was in love with a cousin of mine, like the deepest love a man may have for a woman, and she told me that I would not get my desire fulfilled unless I paid her 100 dinars, gold pieces. So, I struggled for it till I gathered the desired amount, and when I sat in between her legs, she told me to be afraid of Allah, and asked me not to deflower her except rightfully, by marriage. So, I got up and left her. O Allah, if you regard that I did it for your sake, kindly remove this rock. So, 2/3 of the rock was removed. Then the third man said, O Allah, no doubt you know that once I employed a worker for 1 farak, 3 saws of millet, and when I wanted to pay him, he refused to take it, so I sowed it and from its yield I bought cows and a shepherd. After a time that man came and demanded his money. I said to him, go to those cows and the shepherd and take them for they are for you. He asked me whether I was joking with him. I told him that I was not joking with him, and all that belonged to him. O Allah, if you regard that I did it sincerely for your sake, then please remove the rock. So, the rock was removed completely from the mouth of the cave. Sahih al-Bukhari 2216. Narrated Abdurrahman bin Abu Bakr. We were with the Prophet, when a tall pagan with long matted unkempt hair came driving his sheep. The Prophet asked him, are those sheep for sale or for gifts? The pagan replied, they are for sale. The Prophet bought 1 sheep from him. Sahih al-Bukhari 2217. Narrated Abu Huraira. The Prophet said, the Prophet Abraham emigrated with Sarah and entered a village where there was a king or a tyrant. The king was told that Abraham had entered the village, accompanied by a woman who was one of the most charming women. So, the king sent for Abraham and asked, O Abraham, who is this lady accompanying you? Abraham replied, she is my sister, i.e. in religion, that. Then Abraham returned to her and said, do not contradict my statement, for I have informed them that you are my sister. By Allah, there are no true believers on this land except you and one." Then Abraham sent her to the king. When the king got to her, she got up and performed ablution, prayed and said, "O Allah, if I have believed in you and your apostle, and have saved my private parts from everybody except my husband, then please do not let this pagan overpower me." On that the king fell in a mood of agitation and started moving his legs. Seeing the condition of the king, Sarah said, "O Allah, if he should die, the people will say that I have killed him." The king regained his power, and proceeded towards her, but she got up again and performed ablution, prayed and said, "O Allah, if I have believed in you and your apostle and have kept my private parts safe from all except my husband, then please do not let this pagan overpower me." The king again fell in a mood of agitation and started moving his legs. On seeing that state of the king, Sarah said, "O Allah, if he should die, the people will say that I have killed him." The king got either 2 or 3 attacks, and after recovering from the last attack he said, "By Allah, you have sent a Satan to me. Take her to Abraham and give her a jar." So she came back to Abraham and said, "Allah humiliated the pagan and gave us a slave girl for service." Sahih al-Bukhari 2218. Narrated Aisha. Sa'di bin Abi Waqqas and Abu bin Zama quarreled over a boy. Sa'di said, "O Allah's messenger, this boy is the son of my brother, Utbah bin Abi Waqqas, who took a promise from me that I would take him as he was his illegal son. Look at him and see whom he resembles." Abu bin Zama said, "O Allah's messenger, this is my brother and was born on my father's bed from his slave girl." Allah's apostle cast a look at the boy and found definite resemblance to Utbah and then said, "The boy is for you, O Abu bin Zama." The child goes to the owner of the bed and the adulterer gets nothing but the stones, despair, i.e. to be stoned to death. Then the Prophet said, "O Sauda bin Zama, screen yourself from this boy." So, Sauda never saw him again. Sahih al-Bukhari 2219. Narrated Sa'di that his father said, Abdurrahman bin Auf said to Su'aib, "Fear Allah and do not ascribe yourself to somebody other than your father." Su'aib replied, "I would not like to say it even if I were given large amounts of money, but I say I was kidnapped in my childhood." Sahih al-Bukhari 2220. Narrated Urwa bin Zubair. Hakim bin Hizam said, "O Allah's messenger, I used to do good deeds in the pre-Islamic period of ignorance, e.g., keeping good relations with my kith and kin, manumitting slaves and giving alms. Shall I receive a reward for all that?" Allah's messenger replied, "You embraced Islam with all the good deeds which you did in the past.